All right. So today we'll be talking about the 360-degree view of the customer relationship and how that can help you grow your business. As most of you know, my name's Craig Klein. I'm the CEO and founder of Sales Nexus, and my background's in sales. I've been hiring and training salespeople for over 18 years and developing lead generation and business development campaigns. And I'm joined today by Forrest Cassidy, the CEO and founder of LeadFerret.com. Welcome, Forrest.
Thanks, Craig. Thanks for having me, and thanks for everybody who's taking some time out of their day to attend.
Yeah, this is going to be a good one. To kind of set the table, though, I want to make sure that everybody knows, if you haven't joined us for the previous webinars that we've been conducting this year, you can see the schedule here. We're now on our 5th webinar in what we're calling our Sales Growth Webinar Series. And you can see we've covered our Magic 5 content-based email marketing process, building a successful marketing and sales process through identifying your customer's pain, qualifying sales leads and focusing on sales growth that's profitable, managing a sales process of actions that lead to sales and accurate sales forecasts, and today's webinar, the 360-degree view of the customer relationship. And then next week, the 20th, same time, 4 p.m. Eastern, next Wednesday, we'll be conducting the 4 pillars of a sales messaging strategy that drives growth. And this will be with Michael Halper, who helped us with the pain and qualifying webinars earlier, and he'll be joining us again next week to focus on the sales messaging strategy and also go into some level of depth in the sales scripter, which he's kind of touched on a little bit in the previous webinar. So be sure and get registered for that. So before we launch into the 360-degree view, what I wanted to touch on first is LeadFerret and this Magic 5 process, because that's kind of what kicked this all off. So Forrest, if you want to, why don't you just give us a good overview of what LeadFerret is?
Absolutely, Craig. First, I'm sure there are a lot of existing LeadFerret users on the call today. It's always a pretty high percentage. So I'll be really quick, and if you want more details, definitely contact us, live chat. You can call us, phone numbers on our website, or shoot us an email. There's a couple support and sales email addresses on our website, LeadFerret.com. But basically, to sum it up, LeadFerret is a source for B2B contact information, robust set of search tools allowing you to find exactly the prospects you want, email addresses with every record, social media links with a lot of records. Again, business-to-business contact. So as you see from this screenshot, you're finding people based on department, based on title, based on size of company, and based on you can even drill down to specific companies or even specific contacts or specific titles. But and the crazy thing about LeadFerret is that we have hundreds of thousands of people using it all for free. We do offer a premium service whereby you can download records to a spreadsheet, but it's still the majority of our users just use the free service because you can actually see all the information online totally free, which most people kind of blows their mind when they first see it. And I think a recent banner ad we were running pretty much summed it up and said, if your job involves prospecting or sales in any way, you'd basically be crazy not to be using LeadFerret because it's free. And that pretty much sums it up. I mean, everybody in sales should have a LeadFerret account and should use it as a resource. And if you are a Sales Nexus user, or even if you're trying out Sales Nexus with a 30-day free trial, you can actually transfer records directly from LeadFerret that you find of your choosing through our API directly into Sales Nexus in just a few clicks, in just a few minutes. So that was a little bit more long-winded than I intended it to be, but that's basically LeadFerret in a nutshell. For those of you who don't know about it, go to LeadFerret.com and check it out. It's totally free.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, so just to reiterate there, every Sales Nexus user, even during your free trial of Sales Nexus, you get 500 contacts with the emails and phone numbers and addresses and everything else each month, downloaded straight into your Sales Nexus database. And so it's kind of like Forrest, you said it, it's sort of a no-brainer. It'd be crazy not to. We've gotten to the point now where we're doing, when we're doing training or maybe a demo for a potential client of Sales Nexus, we always show them Lead Ferret. And a lot of times it's not really what they had in mind. It wasn't what they were looking for. But I've yet to run into a case where somebody sees the search results. You know, you come in and say, I need to target people at the VP level with the title that includes the word, whatever, facility or something. And you do a search. And the other thing that's not shown here is the map search, which is really cool and people love. And then you see results like this, you know, a list of hundreds or thousands of potential customers. And there's always this moment in those presentations that we do these days where the customer just kind of hesitates and they start going kind of, wait a minute, what's the catch? and there is none. And so this is why we started this webinar series, because this is so revolutionary and there's so many customers who are trying to figure out, okay, well, how do I leverage this? And that's where we came up with our Magic 5 concept. So you can go to Lead Ferret, do your search for the ideal prospect, download 500 contacts for each of your sales reps with the email address, and then start a content-based email marketing campaign that will pull out of that list the most qualified prospects for your salespeople to focus on. So it's not like you're going to say to your salespeople, all right, there's 500 leads, pick up the phone and call them all, because we all know how they feel about that. The idea is you're going to create 5 emails that focus on the different pains that your products and services address for your customers. And then when people click on the links in those emails to read those articles, that triggers your sales response. So the salespeople then pick up the phone and qualify them, develop a series of qualifying questions like Michael talked about a couple of weeks ago in that webinar. And then you also have another email campaign that's going to be sort of the frequently asked questions that people ask typically before they buy, to make sure and sort of grease the skids as they move towards the purchase. We have a lot of customers at this point over the last 6 months that have started to leverage this type of concept, and it's really working. It's really exciting. And again, that's why we started this webinar series, to really help people understand how they can get started with it. It's not that hard. And so today's webinar is another piece in that puzzle. Today we're going to cover the core elements of customer relationships, the key goals in business growth and how that lines up with the elements of a customer relationship, the concept of a 360-degree view of the customer and what that really means, and then some ideas on low-cost ways to achieve that 360-degree view. So, customer relationships. What we know is that they're very difficult and costly to establish, right? That's typically where a business spends most of its energy, is establishing new relationships with customers, acquiring new customers. Because of that cost and difficulty, there's an imperative to maximize the revenue per customer. So once you've acquired a customer, you want to make sure that you're selling them as much as you can. And you want to keep them as long as you can, right? We've all heard the axiom, you know, that it's much easier to go back to your existing customers and sell them new products and services than it is to acquire an entirely new customer. And that's true in virtually all businesses. And that's why these customer relationships are so valuable and so important. So these are universal objectives for almost every business, right? We want to win more customers, we want to sell them more, and we want to keep them longer. If you are in a business where one or more of these things are not true, I'd love to hear from you. All of us basically wake up every day worrying about these things, right? But do you have systems in place to ensure that it really happens? And I think the answer for most of us is no. And that's unfortunate. It doesn't need to be that way, and that's what today's all about. Before I get into the how part there, I want to touch on something I think is directly related to this topic. This year, we've introduced sort of a new branding for Sales Nexus, and I won't go into the whole backstory on that, but what we're emphasizing is that is sort of the why of what we do. You know, fundamentally, me personally and really everyone here at Sales Nexus, we all have a strong belief in the concept of free enterprise, entrepreneurship, and you know, the capitalist society that we live in. We believe that when businesses grow, everyone else benefits. And so we've made it our mission to focus on helping our customers grow their businesses, because we believe that that's going to help your employees live better lives, and their families will be stronger and more prosperous and more secure, and that ultimately their communities, the communities of your business, the communities of your customers will be improved by your business growing. And so that's our mission, is to help you grow your business, because we think it's good for all of us. The reason I'm emphasizing that right now is that what it's changed is we're a lot more focused now on just human relationships with the customers and prospects and people that we come into contact during the course of the day here at Sales Nexus. And I think that's really a great way to look at this 360-degree concept. You want to know as much as you can about a person so that you can have a real, genuine, authentic relationship with them, right? And we're going to talk about what that means at a business level when you have a lot of different people involved and so on. But that's hopefully what we're going to help you accomplish. So when I say 360-degree customer view, what I mean is everyone on your team has access to and knowledge about your customers from every facet of your business. So unfortunately, normally these three elements that you see here, sales and marketing, development and operations, support and delivery, those are kind of silos in a lot of businesses, right? Sales and marketing has their information, and then once the customer's closed, they go over to development and operations or support and delivery, and those people have their own information about that customer, and often they have no visibility into the sales and marketing data that's been gathered about them. And conversely, the sales and marketing people have no visibility into the information in your accounting system or in your support system, etc. We all know what that's like. We all know that it's limiting. The idea here is to create a system where your salespeople know everything about the last support inquiry that a customer had, and your support people know everything that the customer told the salesperson during the sales process, so that they can leverage that information rather than continually asking the same set of questions, and that doesn't establish a lot of trust in the customer, right? So that's what a 360-degree customer view is. What I believe, and if anybody would like me to prove this to you, let me know. I'll share a spreadsheet with you that I've been working with for years. I believe that without really doing much other than scratching the surface in this, you can generate a 4% increase in sales. That's 4% increase in your current sales just by establishing a single place where everybody on your team can see everything there is to know about a customer. That's no new marketing programs, no hiring salespeople, no adding to the staff. It's really not that hard. And again, we're going to talk about that today. I'm basing that fundamentally on the fact that most businesses probably close maybe 20, 25, 30% of the sales opportunities that they pursue, month to month or quarter to quarter. And so if all you do is improve your coordination as a team and lose 1% fewer of those sales, that translates into a 4% increase in sales. Again, I have to show you the spreadsheet for you to really understand that math, but it's true. It works. So a 1% reduction in your lost sales. In other words, I pursue $400,000 in sales every month. That's the total universe of opportunities that we go after. And then we close 100,000. That means 300,000 are lost, right? So all we're going to do, all we're asking for here is to reduce that 300,000 by, what's that, 3,000. That's really not that much, right? We're going to sell $3,000 more out of that 300,000 that we typically lose every month. And again, we're going to talk about how. So here's the, this 300,000, the 75% over here. We're just going to carve off a little piece and move that over into the current sales or won sales column. Okay, so we talked about we want to win more customers, we want to sell them more, and we want to keep them longer. So when we talk about winning more customers, there's a lot of ways we can do that, right? We can reach out to more prospects, we can identify more likely buyers, and those are things that we've touched on in our earlier webinars. And I didn't mention it earlier, but all of these are recorded and available on our website, so if you missed any of these, you can go back and access those. But the other way is, given a head-to-head situation against your competition, you want to win, right? So once you've identified a prospect, you've identified a likely buyer, if they're comparing you with one or more of your competitors, you want to beat the competition, right? That's a way to win more customers. So how do we beat the competition? Well, there's price and quality and all of those things that have a lot to do with your product, your service, and your business that will vary wildly from business to business that we can't really get into here. And then there's this one, service and responsiveness. How quickly do you respond to your customers? And how important is that to them? Depends on the business that you're in. It depends on the situation of your customer. But certainly, we all know of situations where just a few minutes makes all the difference in the world, right? Many of our businesses today are not geared to ever respond to a customer in just minutes, right? Everything takes a considerable amount of time because there might be a lot of internal communication and so on that has to take place. That's causing you to lose sales. So to win new customers, we want to improve service and responsiveness. So here's a real simple way to do that. Let everybody on your team have access to the sales commitments that have been made. Proposals, quotes, design documents, specifications. It depends on the business you're in, but we all have these things that salespeople talk about with prospects, and they make commitments. Sometimes in some businesses, those will be very similar from deal to deal to deal. In other businesses, they're wildly different, and all of those little details matter. But the point is, how many of us have access to that information without the salesperson's help? Documents the sales guy put together, a presentation that they showed the customer, an email they sent them, maybe an email that had a proposal attached to it, or just some notes about the conversation that they had with that customer. Do you, at the business owner level, or does your support manager, your operations manager, have access to that information for reference? Probably not. Okay, so I have a little poll here I'm going to launch here. So you answer the poll that you should see on your screen there. Can you access your salespeople's emails without their help? We're just talking about emails. So when your salesperson is not around and the customer calls up and says, hey, I got an email here from your sales guy. I want to take action on that commitment he made to me. Can you get a copy of that email without having to call your salesperson? So I'll give it one more minute here to give everybody a chance to answer there. It looks like it's evening out now. So I'm going to go ahead and close it and share it. So now you should be seeing the results. So it's saying 55% of you said no, you can't do that. Frankly, I'm surprised 45% of you said yes. Maybe a lot of you are already SalesNexus customers, but based on the previous webinars, I doubt that. I know we have a lot of people that are not yet SalesNexus customers that have been attending. So that's great. If you do have that, then you know why it's important. If you don't, you may not know how detrimentally that can affect things. So let me turn that off now. So just to be clear, what I'm talking about there, as an example, in SalesNexus, when I go to a customer's record, which you're seeing here, Bonnie Hill, I have notes about meetings that we've held or had together, things I've typed in as a salesperson, history of all the marketing emails that have gone out, and other things. But I also have automatically attached to Bonnie's record all of the emails that I exchange with Bonnie. These are not marketing emails that were sent by our email marketing engine. They're just regular emails I sent via Outlook, or she sent me. And that's what you're seeing right here where it says Marketing for Kids Meals. So I can click that link, Outlook Express, and it opens that email for me in Outlook. So not only can I pull up my own emails, but I can pull up emails that customers have exchanged with other people on my team. So when a customer calls me and says, hey, Craig, I wanted to ask some questions about the design suggestions that Kendra made to me, I can pull up the email that she sent even though I wasn't copied on that email. So that's the kind of thing I'm talking about when I talk about accessing emails. Could be documents, proposals, etc. So this is the story that I love to tell to customers because it happens to all of us. Customer calls up and they say, I received a proposal yesterday from Steve, and I'm ready to place my order, but I just had a couple of questions. So Steve's a salesperson. He was over at their office perhaps and gave him a proposal, or maybe he just emailed it to him, and the customer didn't get a chance to look at it until the following morning as they were going through their inbox. So they call in, but the problem is Steve's not around. Where is he? He's out seeing other customers. And so what does your receptionist do at that point? She says, well, Steve's not here right now. Let me take a message and have him call you back. Well, that may have worked back when I was in the energy business, 15 years ago. Customers might be okay with waiting a day or two. Luckily, back in those days, I didn't have a whole lot of competitors, so they didn't have a lot of choice. But this is 2013. Your customers are not in the mood to wait anymore, right? So when you say, I have him call you back, what does that mean? Does that mean you're going to get on the phone with Steve right now and say, call this customer immediately? Maybe, if you can, right? He might be in a meeting. He might not hear your message. He might be on a plane. He might be on vacation. How long is the customer going to have to wait? How long will she wait before she just does a Google search and is looking at your competitor's website because she's tired of waiting? This happens more often than you know. And it's easily avoidable. That's the good news, right? If you have access to those emails like we were just talking about, if you have access to the proposals that customers are sending out, or I'm sorry, that salespeople are sending out, then that receptionist can say, you know what, let me get somebody else on the phone with you because I got a copy of the proposal right here, and take the order right then and there. Everybody's better off. Okay, so the other universal goal is maximizing revenue per customer. So how do we do that? Well, obviously we want to know the customer's needs in as much detail as we can. We want to know about their industry and what that tells us about what their needs are. We want to know about their role in their organization and what that tells us. Maybe it's demographic information like what neighborhood they live in or what their income is or what their education level. All of those things tell us something about what their needs are. And then, of course, in our sales conversations, we're having dialogue with the customer and learning more about what their needs are. And for a lot of us, that goes into the salesperson's head, and that's the only place it ever ends up, right? We can have tailored offering for those specific tailored offerings for those specific sets of needs, right? To maximize revenue per customer. But then we can also cross-sell and upsell. So, I have a customer that bought my sort of retail level inexpensive product, but then I realized that they're actually a construction manager at a home builder, and so I have a whole different package that I sell to home builders, and so once I make that connection, I can upsell them to a more expensive package, right, that might be more valuable to them. But how many of us can really do that well and easily? I was having lunch with a customer today who, that's what they're wrestling with right now. It involves a lot of information gathering for most businesses, right? You got to go to the accounting system and get a list of customers by product that they bought. And then you got to go and cross-reference that with who's their sales rep. And then you have to tell the sales rep, here's your list, call these customers and offer them this. And, there's so many steps in that process that if you do it at all, you don't do it very often. So there's a tremendous amount of missed opportunity there. What we want to be able to do is reach out to these people affordably with specific offers that have a high probability of being appealing to those customers. So I have another poll here related to this. Let me start that here. Just as a frame of reference, is it easier to retrieve a list of customers by what they've purchased or for you to develop that specific offer? In other words, are you better at deciding what to offer those customers, or are you better at getting together the list of people to pick up the phone and call or email or whatever? Okay, so I'm going to close that now and show you the results. So you should be seeing that now. So it's pretty close. 52% said they're better at preparing that list. 48% said they're better at developing that offer. That's really just a frame of reference. Again, kind of surprised by that, but it's good news. As I mentioned, for a lot of the companies that we work with, as they're coming in to begin using Sales Nexus, getting the list together in the first place is their greatest challenge. So that's good. I'm talking to some relative pros here, and that's good. Congratulations. All right, so the So the other thing I wanted to poll you about, let me hide that, is customer loyalty. What's most important, in your opinion, in building loyalty with customers? Price, location, marketing, or trust? You know, in some businesses, things like location may be very important, right? In a retail business, if you're right around the corner, I'm going to be pretty loyal just because you're convenient, right? Or if you're the company that I see on TV as I'm watching my favorite shows, and your website makes it easy for me to go and place an order, marketing might be the number one thing. Obviously, price is always a consideration. But let me close that now and show you the results. So this one I'm not surprised by. 85% of you said that trust is most important in building loyalty. And I agree. A lot of our customers tend to be B2B marketers, and certainly a lot of our customers tend to be salespeople and sales teams. And so in a sales environment, trust is key, right? If you're just a retail company or an e-commerce business or something like that, maybe a little bit different, or maybe less so. So this is something I saw the other day on the internet, and I really liked. Trust equals reliability plus delight. So the point is, how do you keep customers longer? Well, you can, provide great service and support so they just have no reason to go anywhere else, right? You can keep adding value to the equation for them. And I think we all agree, you can build trust. And what is trust? Trust equals reliability plus delight. In other words, boy, when I got that first iPhone, man, was I thrilled to death, right? Thrilled to death. I was thrilled, right? So that created a lot of trust for me in Apple as a company, right? But now that I've been an iPhone user for a few years, it's the fact that the thing just works every day that I trust the most. It makes me trust the company and their other products. So what damages trust in a business relationship? Well, I think most importantly, it's when you say one thing and do another. And the most common way that happens to a customer is when the marketing and sales guys say one thing, but the customer experience doesn't match. In other words, either in your advertising and marketing, you're making promises about what the experience is going to be like, or in the sales presentation, sales proposals, sales conversations, maybe even subtle hints are being made by the salesperson, sometimes not sanctioned by the business, but they're happening anyway. And that creates an expectation for the customer, and when your company and the rest of your team doesn't live up to that expectation, that damages the trust. And what's unfortunate here is that it doesn't take a lot. And it could be very insignificant details in the grand scheme of things, but it's just the fact that you said one thing and you did another that damages trust. I got a 12-year-old son right now that's my biggest problem, right? He says one thing and he does another, and I have to question everything. So you build loyalty and trust by living up to your commitments. So the question here is, who made what commitment, and do you know what it was? Do you know the commitments that your salespeople made? Do you know if, how sometimes you have that email dialogue with a customer as they're getting ready to make the purchase? You've sent them the proposal, you've done the presentation, you've maybe even sent them the invoice. and then somebody starts asking new questions, more detailed questions about your terms and conditions and your return policy and things like that. And some of that dialogue is carried out via email. And how often does your salesperson maybe let the customer make some assumptions that aren't entirely true? It happens. Do you ever know about that? And when you don't, what happens to the relationship with the customer? It damages their trust in you, and it's the beginning of the end of that relationship. Okay, so we've talked about winning new customers through service and responsiveness. The problem with service and responsiveness is that you can't act without the proper information. And we all find ourselves waiting for someone else on the team in order to get the information that we need so that we can respond to the customer. So that lack of information, or those silos of information, cause our service and responsiveness to be damaged or slower. Excuse me. Maximize revenue per customer by cross-selling and upselling. We can't target the right customers with the right offer without information about those customers. And we've talked about how that can be difficult to gather and difficult to collate and take action with. Keep customers longer by building trust. We can't be consistent without knowing what commitments were made by others on our team to that customer. It's not just the salespeople that are the culprits here. It could be the other way around, right? The support team might tell a customer, okay, I'm going to have that issue fixed for you by the end of Friday. And then the sales guy gets a call on Monday saying, hey, your support team never came through for me, right? Oh boy, I'm sorry guys. I just saw everybody's notes that you can't see my screen. Sorry about that. Okay, you should be able to see it now. So the point here is on all three of these elements, winning new customers, maximizing revenue per customer, and keeping customers longer, it's all about access to information. You have to find a way to give everybody on your team information about your customers and what commitments were made to them and the current status of any ongoing support tickets or whatever it may be. That's the 360-degree view that we talked about before. Here's your customer in the middle, and around them are all of the different folks on your team that have interaction with the customer. And over here, the salesperson needs to know that, for instance, the accounting group just called the customer about a past due bill. Maybe that bill's getting way past due. It's 60, 90 days past due, and they're starting to threaten them with cancellation or penalties or something like that. Well, that salesperson better know that, right? You don't necessarily want the salesperson calling up to cross-sell or upsell that customer at that particular moment, right? So it's putting all the information in one place so that everybody on your team has access to it and can take action with it. So here's a few really low-cost ideas because, what I hear the most from customers that don't have a system like this yet is two objections, two reasons that they haven't done it. Too much money and too difficult to get everybody using the same system, the change management aspect of that. So let's talk about the cost part first. You don't have to have Sales Nexus to do this. You don't have to have a CRM to do it. You can do it kind of piecemeal, and it can be very inexpensive. The mail thing that we talked about earlier, so that you could pull up a copy of an email that your customer sent to your salesperson or that your salesperson sent to your customer. You can set rules on your mail server that just auto copy all of your salesperson's email into some other mailbox that you can access or search. Pretty simple. Not very expensive at all. A little crude, but it works. You could store proposals in some kind of a cloud drive that's shared, that you can log on to from wherever you happen to be. So even over the weekend, you can pull up that proposal. Real simple, not very expensive. The only issue there is you have to get everybody in the habit of putting those proposals in there, consistently, right? So another really good idea, I think, that doesn't cost you a dime, really, is building trust by sort of creating a scenario where you're making commitments that you know you can live up to. In other words, why just wait for some unusual commitment to be made and hope that you guys come through and it maintains or builds trust with that customer? All day, every day, you're doing what you do for your customers, and you do it well. Why not put those things in writing and share it with the customer right up front as sort of a contract? Mr. Customer, welcome on board, and here's our commitment to you. On day one, we're going to do this, and then 3 days later, you're going to see this, and then you're going to get a call from my guy, Frank, in service, and he's going to do this. Lay all that out for him. You're going to do it anyway, right? So lay it out for him, put it in writing, and then when you execute, it feels to the customer a lot more like you really going the extra mile, and it's building loyalty and trust in you. Okay, the alternative, of course, is to invest in a CRM solution or some sort of a database solution that everybody on your team has access to. And again, what we hear over and over again is people are concerned about the cost of that. And I think the most important way to look at that is think about that 4% increase in sales, right? If you're acquiring more customers, you're getting more revenue per customer, and you're keeping your customer longer, and your sales go up 4% as a result, or maybe even more, then the cost of the CRM is nothing, right? It's a healthy investment. Obviously, that's somewhat self-serving, but it's true, and really 4% is a minor piece of the puzzle. What we're discussing today is only the increase in sales that comes from, sort of better relationship management and information management. We're not even talking about the increase in sales that comes from better email marketing and better sales process management and that type of thing that we've talked about in previous webinars. So just another little tip to help everybody understand that they have some control over the investment required here. You don't necessarily need to pay for accounts or software for everybody on your team. There's a lot of ways to kind of slice and dice things and keep the cost minimal. We run into that a lot. A lot of customers will come to Sales Nexus and say, we want to get our sales team on board with Sales Nexus. And then we start talking to them about this 360-degree view, and we say, well, what about your support team? What about the people that do collections in your accounting department, et cetera? And the customer's knee-jerk reaction is usually to say, well, no, we don't want to pay for the accounts for those guys, which I think is a mistake. I think based on what we've talked about here today, that's somewhat short-sighted. But my real point here is, in a lot of circumstances, you can share accounts. Your accounting team, there may be 5 people in there, but you don't necessarily need 5 accounts or 5 copies of whatever software you're using. right? You might just have one that they all share because they're only going to use it, once or twice a day each for 5 minutes at a time. So that's a way to control the cost. Same thing would be true in your production group or maybe even some of your administrative or executive folks. Another really important point, when we talk about the 360-degree view, a lot of businesses have internally developed databases that manage specialized information in your business or your industry. Or maybe there's third-party systems that, are industry-specific. So the question is, if I'm going to have access to all the information, then I have to connect with those other systems, right? Well, my answer would be maybe not, probably not, in fact. There's a difference between making it easy and making it useful. And so you can spend a lot of money and make it super automated, or you can maybe save yourself some money and maybe have a little bit of manual work to do once in a while. I think in this kind of a project, either way, you want to start real simple and then build on early success. So, maybe there's a way to leverage existing technologies that let you exchange information. Maybe there's a way to just, go to your accounting system and export a list of all the, all your customers and what they bought last month, and then import that into your CRM system or something like that. And you do that once a month or once a week maybe, and usually that's going to be plenty. It doesn't mean you got to go hire a developer, right? Once you start and you start to realize the return on all of this, then you can go hire a developer because you'll be much more confident in making that kind of investment. You'll know what's going to come from it. Okay, so last poll, and I'll remember to turn this one off when we're done. How long do you think it will take your team to implement a 360-degree view of the customer? Is it 30 days or less, 30 to 60 days, 90 to 120 days, 6 months, or a year or more? Okay, a few more seconds, and then we'll close it down. Okay, so now you can see the results. So 39% of you guesstimated or estimated 30 to 90 days. 29% said 90 to 120 days. 19% said 30 days or less. Nobody said a year or more. That's good, because that would be too long. There's no doubt about that. And 13% said 6 months. So that's good. I think that your expectations on that are pretty accurate. In fact, what we tell customers that take advantage of our Quick Start programs is that the Quick Start itself will unfold over the course of 2 or 3 weeks, mostly depending upon how quickly you can respond and get us the information we need. And then you need to give yourself, obviously, a couple or 3, maybe 4 weeks to get used to using the system and really fine-tune things and so on. So that puts you right into the 60-day window. And what I mean by that is by 60 days, you're cooking with gas. You're humming. You're seeing benefits. You're beyond the learning curve. You're glad you did this, right? So that's relatively quick. for any kind of technology or process change in any business. Okay, so let me remember to hide that, and let's move on here. So what I want to re-emphasize, we talked about the sales scripter a lot in some of our previous webinars. Next week, our webinar, Wednesday the 20th at 4 p.m. Eastern, same time as this one. Michael Halper will be back with us, and he's going to go into the 4 pillars of sales messaging. He's going to talk about creating value statements, qualifying customers, and pain. And he's also going to get into a little bit of a demo of the sales scripter and how that can help you identify those things. But just to remind everybody, you can go try the scripter out right now. It's in beta and it's free. Go give it a shot. What you're going to get out of it, you will be amazed by. I'm still amazed by it. It'll give you voicemail scripts, follow-up emails to send, qualifying questions, value statements, and all of this is crucial in establishing this 360-degree view of the customer. For instance, your salespeople need to qualify customers or prospects. So they need to know what to ask, right? And you can have them type that information into sort of a notes section in your CRM, or even a notes cell in an Excel file or something. And that's great, and people can reference it and all that, and that's good. But it's not really searchable in the ways that we might like. In other words, 6 months, a year later, I want to go back and say, show me the list of everybody that answered question A like this, because now we have a new offering for them. So when you're building your 360-degree view system, you want to create fields in that system that your salespeople can use to enter the answers to all of the questions that they ask all their prospects. So go through the scripter, and it's essentially going to give you a roadmap to building this system. So again, it's free, it's in beta, go try it out. We'd love to hear your feedback about it. And then join us next week. Be sure and get registered for the 4 pillars of effective sales messaging. And Michael Halper is going to be going through the sales messaging concepts and the scripter next Wednesday, the 20th at 4 p.m. Eastern. You can go right here, salesnexus.com/resources/webinars to register. Also, you'll be getting an email tomorrow with a link to register for next week's webinar, a link to the recording of today's webinar. There'll also be a link to go straight to the scripter and try it out, and a link to go establish your free account on LeadFerret. You'll get an email tomorrow with all of that for you to easily access. Okay, so to kind of wrap it up here, I want to reiterate what Forrest kind of touched on earlier. You can start your free 30-day trial of SalesNexus, and you can upload your own list of contacts with their email addresses from Outlook or whatever you're using now. But you can also create a free account on LeadFerret and download 500 contacts that you want to target, excuse me, with their email addresses right into SalesNexus and start sending them emails during that 30-day trial. So in SalesNexus, you can create your own email templates and campaigns and start sending out blasts up to 50,000 per person per month. So you can start generating leads and closing sales now. So give that a try. Also, we have a special offer for those of you who have attended today's webinar. If you sign up for SalesNexus before Monday of next week, Monday the 18th of February, we'll provide you with a free 2-hour consultation where we'll go through discussing your sales process, targeting your market using Lead Ferret, developing an email campaign strategy, excuse me, and creating your 360-degree view of the customer information sharing system. So obviously we're not going to completely flesh out and execute all of those things in a 2-hour consultation, but what we can very easily do is give you a clear roadmap of the high-level objectives that will get you to all 4 of these things. So again, if you sign up to Sales Nexus before Monday, the 18th of February, we'll put you on the calendar for a free 2-hour consultation to cover these things. So take advantage of that. And again, you'll be getting an email tomorrow with links to take advantage of everything that we've talked about today, including a recording of today's webinar and the slides and so on. So appreciate everybody's time today. Appreciate you joining us, and especially want to thank Forrest and Lead Ferret for their help with today's webinar. Thanks a lot, Forrest.
Thank you for having us, Craig.
And hope everybody has a great afternoon, and we'll see you next Wednesday for the 4 pillars of effective sales messaging.